I just removed my Airhead Composting toilet from the bathroom floor and the mounting brackets here, which is simple. Just pop out the 4 thumb screws and it's out. Now I'm going to be drilling the hole for the ventilation for the fan to go outside. So I know I've got a center stud about here, and I've got a stud about here, actually studs and cripples. So I'm going to go through somewhere in the middle here. Now I talked to Jeff from Airhead Composting Toilets, and he said it can be anywhere. It doesn't matter exactly where it ventilates out, as long as it goes out and you've got your fan running, it should be good. So I'm going to come down about here. Now I'm going to put a hole through. Now I want to come down below the window a ways so that there's no chance really of the smelly air coming back in, but I highly doubt that anyway, because there's not going to be a lot of smell. The composting toilet runs relatively dry. There's not going to be a lot of stench. Okay, now I have to knock that piece out. So this is the last and final step to getting the Airhead Composting toilet properly installed and functioning in my tiny house on wheels. So I'm going to just drill right on through everything. Now, it cut really neatly through the radiant foil, very nice. And it cut through the rock wool insulation as well. I always have a time getting that back in the hole. So I want to see how far this can reach. I sometimes wish the drill bit on that was longer. There's the rock wool pulled out of the way, nice and neat. Now, I'm going to have to get a drill bit and drill through to the outside so I can go outdoors and drill from the other way and finish that hole. Now I want to roughly get that in the center. Can't tell if I'm outdoors or not. The rock wool is sealing the hole around behind that. So, let me see if I can pull it out. That doesn't work. No, maybe it did. No, I need something longer. I have to clear the hole so I can see if I punch through to the outdoors. Sorry for the delay here and the boredom on the camera. Looking for the right tools to reach that far in. Nope, that won't do it. I can push it aside. These are thick walls. Really thick. I can't even reach my fingers through there. Alright, I'm going to clear that insulation apart out of the way, and then I'll be back in a second. Give you a better view of what I've done here. There's all the junk I pulled out of the wall, and there's daylight outside. So I made it through. Now I've got to go outside and drill from the outside in with the hole cutter, and then I can shove a tube in there and put on my Airhead ventilation fan and tube. Well, you can see daylight through my tiny house. After all that work sealing off the outdoors, I put a hole in my wall. Well, I'm going to clean up the mess, and then I'm going to fasten my fan, and then I'll fasten the hose, and my toilet will be ready to use. Alright, now it's time to mount the fan assembly onto the wall. I got wind blowing through there. Wow. It's really windy out today. I'm just presetting a couple of the screws. It's not going to be as hard to get that through when I'm ready. Now I want to center that over the hole. And then screw them in. Now I'm going around the outside, sort of staggering the screws a little so they don't put too much undue stress on one point, and then I'll fill in the others. These screws go in nicely. Now here in this bathroom, of course, later I'm going to have paneling on here, but that's going to take time because everything I'm doing is homemade. So for now, I just want to get this toilet running, get the fan going, start using my Airhead Composting toilet here. So get these screws on there. Nice and tight. Alright, now I have to run electricity. So I'll string out some wire and I'll run that through from upstairs and drop it in here. Well, now it's time to hook up the electrical wire. I've run it through the entire bathroom from upstairs, from the main power line down. All my electric wires run upstairs. There's a main wire goes upstairs, and then from there I distribute it throughout the house. It's easier to come through the ceiling in this tiny house setup than it would be to go through the walls everywhere. It's going to be easier for me to hide. So I'm going to use red and black. I have 4 wires here. I'm just going to use red and black. After testing this, I'll solder these and then tape them off. Right now I'm just going to tape them off temporarily for the test. Some electrical tape. Just want to see that I get the fan running, get power to it, and make sure I get the right polarity on the fan so I'm blowing out and not sucking in. Again, I'll solder these up nicely once I get the right polarity and I know it's going to work right. I'll make sure I blow air out. Okay, there's that down here. Now I'm going to go upstairs and connect the power to the main hot line. I'll be back down here in a few minutes. Well, I have power. I ran it from upstairs down along the wall and over to the fan. You can hear it quietly running. So this takes very, very little power to run, so that's very convenient. And it is sucking out. Pretty cool. Alright, now I'll put the toilet back in place. Later I'm going to put paneling in here, so this will all be decorated nicely. And I'll pull that off and finish the bathroom. But for now, it's got to be functional, because this is like a work in progress here. And a toilet is important regardless if you have paneling in or not. So, let me put the camera back on a tripod and we'll put this all together. Okay, now throw away my garbage. Oops. Now I want to bring the toilet back over here in place. First thing I want to do is measure the pipe, the hose, and I'll have to cut it to length. So I'm just going to set this in place for a minute. Alright, and then it's not going to be much hose in this case. Now, because of how this is set up here, let me see. I'm going to have to run it up a little because otherwise there will be too much pressure. And over and around. There'll be a loop, and actually they suggest a loop is a good idea. That'll work like this. You see, a loop is a good idea to prevent water from outdoors running in. Of course, my fan is down lower than the toilet anyway, so this will be fine. I'm going to cut this off. I'll be back in a minute. Now, you won't be able to see what I'm doing now because it's really tight and it's behind the toilet. But what I'm going to do next is screw this into the attachment on the wall. And it's reverse thread, so you screw it backwards. Sorry, no, I'm doing this wrong. You put it into here first because this swivels. Screw that into the toilet. Am I making any progress? And then because that swivels, that allows you to screw that into the vent down below. Now I have a tight space here. Now my Airhead composting toilet is installed properly and ready for use. Let's put the urine container back in. The liquid separation tank, but there it is, properly running. We should have, if I held a lighted match up here, I should feel air flowing in. This is the air intake side of the composting toilet. And air flows in through and then out to the outdoors. So, there it is. Let me put on the separation tank. Let me put my camera back on a tripod. Alright. Grab my liquid separation tank. The liquids tank. And this goes under here and slips into place nicely. And the screws go down. Screw that in. Screw in my toilet to the clamps on the floor. Everything's nice and tight. There. Now, I've got a toilet ready for use. And what's cool is my litter box is next to my cat's litter box. How cool is that? Well, there's my Airhead composting toilet, fully installed, functional, and ready for use. That is a major milestone in the tiny house on wheels. And thank you again, Jeff, there from Airhead Composting Toilets. This is definitely a very fine gift and greatly appreciated, and a huge part of the tiny house. I'm going to go into some details about human-ore and off-grid composting toilets and why they're important in another video pretty soon, but I think that a composting toilet is very fitting for any off-grid environment, no matter if it be a boat, RV, camper, tiny house, cottage, or hunter shack, and I'll explain all the details why in another video very soon.